Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, if you've been anywhere near a bookstore lately, you have probably seen his name. Today, we are diving deep into the work of Stephen Graham Jones, who is, without a doubt, one of the most important voices in modern horror. And let's just start with this quote right here. It perfectly captures that raw, confrontational, then absolutely thrilling energy that just defines his work. I mean, it's a challenge and a promise, all in one sentence. So who is the writer behind that powerful line? Well, People magazine recently called him one of the new masters of horror. And that's not just hype. We're going to unpack exactly why he's earned that title. I mean, just look at the hardware he's racked up. We're not talking about a few nominations here. In 2020 alone, his novel The Only Good Indians won the Ray Bradbury Prize, the Bram Stoker Award, and the Shirley Jackson Award. That's basically a grand slam in the world of speculative fiction. So his work isn't just popular, it's critically recognized as groundbreaking at the absolute highest level. But to really get what makes his books so compelling, you have to understand the mind that creates them. It's this really unique blend of high-level academia and just a deep, genuine love for good old-fashioned genre storytelling. And this really gets to the heart of the two worlds he lives in. On one hand, you've got this professor of distinction at a major university who's deep in literary theory. And on the other, you have a guy who just flat out loves monsters. But here's the thing, that's not a contradiction, it's his superpower. He uses all that academic rigor to build better, smarter, and way scarier monsters. And this quote, this is the key to his entire creative engine. He literally told Writer's Digest that writing a novel he knows will work is super boring. So he actively seeks out these difficult, maybe even flawed ideas. It's a philosophy that forces him to innovate, to push the boundaries of storytelling just to make the whole thing work. And that's exactly why his books feel so fresh and unpredictable. All right, so his bibliography is massive. We're talking over 30 books, which can feel, well, a little overwhelming. But here's the secret. There's a key to navigating it. You just have to understand the two main territories he explores in his fiction. And here they are, indigenous horror and genre deconstruction. Think of these as the two pillars of his work. Pretty much every story he tells fits into one of these, and often it's both at the same time. They're like the twin engines driving his fiction, blending sharp cultural commentary with a deep love for the nuts and bolts of horror. So let's start with indigenous horror. Jones is a member of the Blackfeet Nation, and he uses his heritage to tell these authentic, modern stories. He takes outdated, harmful tropes like the whole Indian curse thing and completely reclaims them, turning them into these powerful tools for social commentary. In The Only Good Indians, for instance, the horror isn't just random. It's a form of justice. It's a supernatural consequence for breaking cultural and natural laws. And that brings us to his other specialty, genre deconstruction. He takes all those horror formulas we grew up with and basically turns them into a toolbox. In his novel Mongrels, werewolves aren't just monsters. They're this incredible metaphor for the struggle to find your identity within your family. And his Indian-like trilogy, it's a total masterclass in the meta-slasher, using a horror-obsessed main character to dissect the very rules of the genre itself. Okay, so we've covered the who, the why, and the what. Now for the most important question for any beginner. Where on earth do you start? With a list of books this long, jumping in can feel a little intimidating, I get it. But don't worry, we've broken it down into a few perfect entry points, all depending on what kind of reader you are. But first, hey, let's go straight to the source. When someone on Goodreads asked him which of his books to read first, Jones himself suggested his werewolf novel, Mongrels. It's a fantastic pick, a perfect blend of character, heart, and of course, horror. So with that in mind, think of this as your trail map. If you're coming from a more literary fiction background, you have to start with the award-sweeping The Only Good Indians. If you're a die-hard horror fan who lives for 80s slashers, then My Heart is a Chainsaw is basically your anthem. And if you want to take the author's own advice, dive into the incredible coming-of-age werewolf story, Mongrels. Honestly, you can't go wrong with any of them. So after this quick tour through his universe, what's the big takeaway? Why is his work so important to the literary world right now? At the end of the day, he makes the genre matter. In his hands, horror isn't just about scares anymore. It's a powerful, flexible lens for looking at things like cultural identity, intergenerational trauma, and really what it means to be human. He proves that a story can be both absolutely terrifying and deeply profound. And this is basically his mission statement. He believes that to keep horror alive and kicking, you have to inject it with new ideas from other fields, what he calls strange alien DNA. For him, that's so often the authentic DNA of Blackfeet culture and folklore, and that creates this hybrid that feels completely new and totally essential. So what's the bottom line? Stephen Graham Jones has fundamentally reshaped modern horror. He's proven that its oldest monsters and darkest corners can be used to tell the most urgent contemporary stories. He shows us how a werewolf can teach us about family, how an elk spirit can teach us about justice, and how a final girl can teach us about ourselves. His work transforms the genre, and it just might transform the way you see the world too.